Ordinary people make split-second decisions every day, never imagining that a moment of poor judgment could become their last. In this video, we're examining 6 of the most preventable deaths on record. Each happened because someone chose to ignore obvious dangers in pursuit of something completely unnecessary. It was June 22nd, 2018, at a small private wildlife sanctuary in Colorado. Most visitors respected the barriers designed to protect both humans and animals, unaware that one person's decision to prove her social media claims would end in tragedy. Brittany Walsh, 24, was a social media influencer who had built her following around the claim that she could communicate with wild animals. She regularly posted photos with domesticated animals at petting zoos, always captioning them with phrases about her special connection to wildlife. Her friends had dared her earlier that day to prove these abilities were real by getting close to an actual predator. That afternoon, Brittany made the decision to enter the mountain lion enclosure to pet Rex, a 150-pound adult male. Despite multiple warning signs, locked gates, and clear physical barriers designed to separate visitors from the animals, she had hidden inside the facility until closing time. Once the staff finished their final walkthrough and the sanctuary grounds were cleared, she moved toward the restricted area and began bypassing every security measure that existed to prevent close contact with the predators. Security camera footage reviewed the following morning documents each stage of her entry. At 8:10 p.m., the exterior camera shows her climbing the perimeter fence, pausing briefly to adjust her footing before dropping onto the restricted pathway. The next camera angle captures her scaling the inner barrier using a support beam that was not intended for climbing access. She can be seen gesturing toward the enclosure, appearing to signal or call out, though the cameras recorded no audio. Once inside the enclosure zone, the footage records her walking directly toward Rex with her arms extended in front of her. Rex had been lying near the shaded entrance of his den, partially obscured by the wooden structure. The moment Brittany crossed several feet into his territory, the camera shows him lifting his head, rotating his ears forward, and shifting his weight to a crouched position, standard signs of heightened awareness in a captive mountain lion. When Brittany leaned down and reached toward his head, the footage shows Rex lunging in a single forward motion and clamping onto the side of her neck. She collapsed immediately, and the attack ended within seconds. The security footage captures the attack sequence lasting approximately 25 seconds, according to timestamp analysis. Motion sensors triggered an alert to the security company, and staff were notified. 2 staff members arrived at the enclosure within minutes of the alert, but found the attack already over. Emergency responders arrived within 20 minutes, but found Brittany had died from her injuries. The mountain lion had returned to his position and was tranquilized without incident, having simply acted according to natural instincts when confronted with an intruder. Authorities reviewed the footage, interviewed staff, and examined the enclosure. Rex was placed under observation and showed normal behavior within a day. Forensic findings confirmed Brittany died within minutes from a cervical spine fracture and associated respiratory failure. Investigators classified the case as accidental death linked to criminal trespass, concluding she bypassed multiple barriers. The exhibit reopened a month later with updated security measures. It was July 3rd, 2019, in suburban Phoenix, where afternoon temperatures reached 105 degrees Fahrenheit. The day before Independence Day seemed perfect for testing homemade fireworks. But one man's overconfidence would turn his garage workshop into a scene of destruction. Gary Mitchell, 37, was an amateur chemist who had decided to create his own fireworks display rather than purchase professional ones. He had converted his garage into a makeshift laboratory where he mixed increasingly powerful combinations for backyard testing, despite having no formal training in pyrotechnics or explosive safety protocols. Gary understood basic chemistry principles from his community college courses, but had no knowledge of proper storage methods for dangerous materials. He had been experimenting with different mixtures over several weeks, each time adding more material to create bigger effects for his planned neighborhood celebration. The experiment that day involved what Gary called his biggest firework yet. Fire investigators found evidence he had been working with potassium perchlorate, aluminum powder, and sulfur based on containers and residue found at the scene. The combination was extremely sensitive to friction, static electricity, and the high temperatures in his unventilated garage. That afternoon, around 3:15 p.m., neighbors reported hearing a loud explosion from Gary's property. The blast destroyed most of his two-car garage and scattered debris across his backyard and driveway. The concussion rattled windows in his house and cracked a window in the adjacent home to the east. Emergency responders arrived within 6 minutes to find Gary's garage reduced to twisted metal and splintered wood. Gary's body was discovered among the debris, having suffered severe trauma to his upper body from the explosion. Burns and blast injuries had proven immediately fatal. Fire investigators immediately secured the scene and began documenting the evidence. They found numerous volatile chemicals stored improperly throughout the garage, including several compounds that required special handling procedures. The investigation revealed Gary had been creating fireworks with significantly more explosive material than typical consumer products. The fire marshal's investigation determined that the explosion occurred while Gary was working with his chemical mixture. Investigators could not determine the exact cause of ignition, though static electricity, friction, or heat buildup were considered possible factors given the unventilated garage conditions during the 105-degree afternoon. Fire department personnel with hazmat training secured remaining chemicals and assessed structural damage. The blast had been powerful enough to damage the garage floor and leave scorch marks on the concrete driveway, but damage was contained to Gary's immediate property. Forensic examination confirmed death by explosive trauma with severe burns and blast injuries. The fire marshal classified the incident as an accidental death during unlawful manufacture of fireworks without proper permits. The official cause of death was massive tissue destruction from close proximity explosion. Gary's homeowner's insurance later disputed coverage after investigation revealed the illegal manufacturing activity, leaving his family responsible for cleanup costs and minor damage to neighboring properties. The incident prompted local fire officials to issue warnings about the dangers of homemade pyrotechnics. It was September 3rd, 2017, on a local highway overpass in rural Ohio, where Route 23 carried moderate traffic through farming communities. The location offered what extreme ironing enthusiasts sought for their increasingly dangerous sport. But one man's poor judgment would turn a publicity stunt into a fatal accident. Kevin Torres, 29, was a dedicated participant in the underground extreme ironing movement, where people iron clothes in dangerous or unusual locations for internet fame and personal satisfaction. He had previously ironed on mountain peaks in Colorado, in underwater caves in Florida, and while skydiving over Nevada, but was seeking a new challenge to maintain his social media following. Kevin understood the basic risks of his hobby and had developed safety protocols for most of his previous stunts, but had become addicted to the adrenaline rush and online attention that came with each increasingly dangerous attempt. His latest idea was to iron a shirt while standing on the narrow maintenance ledge of a highway overpass during afternoon traffic, believing the combination of height and vehicle movement would create compelling content for his followers. That afternoon, Kevin made the decision to climb over the 32-inch concrete safety barrier, an action that violated state highway regulations and trespassing laws. He accessed an 18-inch wide maintenance ledge approximately 40 feet above the busy highway, a structure designed only for authorized maintenance personnel with proper safety equipment. The setup violated basic safety principles, with the compact ironing board's legs barely fitting on the narrow ledge, and Kevin having to lean precariously over the highway to reach the shirt he planned to iron. The maintenance ledge had no safety railings and was never intended for foot traffic, let alone someone performing an activity requiring movement and balance. Kevin had brought no safety equipment, backup plans, or emergency communication devices for the stunt. At approximately 4:30 p.m., during moderate afternoon traffic, witnesses and passing vehicles reported seeing Kevin lose his balance on the ledge. according to the police investigation based on witness statements. A large truck passing beneath the overpass appeared to create air movement that affected Kevin's stability. Dashcam footage from a following vehicle captured Kevin grabbing for the ironing board as he fell, pulling the equipment down with him. Kevin struck the roadway directly in front of oncoming traffic. According to the investigation, he was struck by 2 vehicles before traffic could react and stop. The ironing board became debris that damaged 1 additional car. His body came to rest approximately 150 feet from the initial impact point. Emergency responders arrived within 12 minutes of the first 911 calls, but found Kevin had died on impact with the roadway. The accident caused extended traffic delays on the rural highway and resulted in minor injuries to 1 driver involved in a secondary collision caused by the sudden traffic stoppage. Law enforcement immediately closed the overpass to investigate the incident and document the illegal activity that had led to the fatal accident. The investigation found that Kevin had deliberately climbed over safety barriers designed to prevent exactly this type of incident, ignored posted warning signs about unauthorized access, and performed a dangerous activity on infrastructure not designed for public use. Forensic examination confirmed massive trauma from both the fall and vehicle impacts. The official cause of death was multiple blunt force injuries with immediate loss of consciousness upon impact with the roadway. Authorities classified the incident as accidental death with contributing factors of trespassing and reckless behavior. Officials reviewed security measures for similar overpasses following the incident. It was March 15, 2020, in suburban Minneapolis, during the early weeks of the pandemic lockdown. The economic uncertainty and widespread job losses had led many homeowners to attempt major home renovations themselves to save money and occupy their time during quarantine restrictions. Jennifer Park, 32, was a work-from-home marketing consultant whose income had been reduced by 40% due to the economic downturn. She had decided to demolish a wall in her 2-story colonial house to create an open floor plan that would increase the property's value. She had watched numerous online tutorials and convinced herself that she could complete the work herself rather than pay the $8,000 contractor estimate she had received before the pandemic. Jennifer understood basic home improvement concepts from previous DIY projects, but had no formal knowledge of structural engineering or building codes. Investigation revealed she had not obtained the required demolition permits or consulted with a structural engineer before beginning work. The wall she targeted separated her living room and dining room, but structural engineers later determined it was actually a load-bearing wall supporting the weight of the second floor and roof structure above. The demolition project was significantly more dangerous than usual because Jennifer had decided to remove the entire 12-foot wall in one day, using only a sledgehammer and crowbar, working alone without any professional consultation. She had not installed temporary supports or safety measures, believing the online videos had given her sufficient knowledge to complete the project safely. On March 15th, Jennifer began attacking the wall with a 10-pound sledgehammer, starting from the center and working outward toward the supporting posts at each end. As she removed more sections of drywall and exposed the wooden frame structure, the ceiling above began to sag visibly, with cracks appearing in the plaster and paint. However, she continued her demolition work despite these obvious warning signs. When Jennifer removed the final section of the wall using her crowbar, the structural failure occurred rapidly. Neighbors heard the thunderous collapse and immediately called emergency services, reporting that it sounded like an explosion or earthquake. A large section of the second floor had fallen completely through to the first floor in the area where Jennifer had been working. Emergency responders arrived wearing full PPE due to COVID-19 protocols, which initially slowed their assessment of the scene. The collapse had created a debris field that filled most of the room and made immediate rescue operations dangerous. Fire department officials immediately red-tagged the house at the scene as structurally unsafe. Responders required specialized heavy rescue equipment and had to maintain social distancing protocols while coordinating the response. Structural engineers called to the scene determined that the ceiling joists had failed in rapid sequence once the supporting wall was removed, based on the debris pattern and remaining structural damage. The collapse brought down approximately 800 pounds of flooring, furniture, and structural materials directly onto Jennifer's position in the room below. Jennifer's body was discovered buried under massive wooden beams, flooring materials, and furniture that had fallen from the second story. The weight had compressed her chest and caused immediate fatal injuries from multiple crushing forces. The structural collapse had been so sudden that she had no opportunity to escape the falling debris or seek shelter. Emergency responders required additional time to safely extract Jennifer while following pandemic safety protocols, including limited personnel in the confined space and decontamination procedures for equipment and personnel. Forensic examination confirmed massive crush injuries as the cause of death, with multiple fractures to the skull, ribs, and spine, plus internal organ damage from the building materials. The official cause of death was compressive trauma from structural collapse with secondary asphyxiation. Officials classified the incident as an accidental death resulting from unpermitted construction work that violated building codes. The investigation found that Jennifer had removed a critical load-bearing wall without proper permits, engineering consultation, or temporary support systems. The house remained red-tagged, pending extensive structural assessment and repairs. It was November 8, 2019, in Portland, Oregon, where a severely clogged toilet in a small studio apartment had led to an increasingly desperate and dangerous attempt at DIY plumbing repair that would prove fatal. David Chen, 26, was a college student majoring in biology who had been dealing with a completely blocked toilet for several days. Rather than call a plumber or contact his landlord about the problem, he had decided to solve the issue himself using various cleaning chemicals he had purchased from different stores around the city. David understood basic chemistry principles from his college courses, including molecular structures and reaction types. But investigation revealed he had no practical knowledge of the dangerous reactions that could occur when mixing household cleaning products. He had already tried multiple commercial drain cleaners, a plunger, and a drain snake without success, and was becoming increasingly frustrated with the persistent blockage that was making his small apartment uninhabitable. The cleaning attempt that day was significantly more dangerous than his previous efforts because David had decided to mix several different chemical products simultaneously, believing that combining their active ingredients would create a more powerful cleaning solution capable of dissolving whatever was blocking the toilet. Emergency responders found evidence that he had combined bleach, ammonia-based cleaner, and hydrochloric acid toilet bowl cleaner. On November 8th, David gathered his collection of cleaning products and began his final attempt to clear the blockage. He poured the three chemicals into the toilet bowl in a rapid succession, creating a chemical mixture that immediately began producing toxic gases. The combination created chlorine gas and chloramine gas, both highly toxic compounds that can be fatal in enclosed spaces, even in small concentrations. The small bathroom, measuring only 4 feet by 6 feet, had no ventilation fan and only a small frosted window that remained closed due to the cold November weather. Hazmat teams measured dangerous concentrations of toxic gases upon arrival that had accumulated in the confined space. The studio apartment's open floor plan allowed the fumes to spread from the bathroom throughout the 400-square-foot living space. David began experiencing immediate and severe respiratory distress as the toxic gases burned his lungs and airways, causing rapid inflammation and fluid buildup that made breathing increasingly difficult. Scene investigation revealed he had attempted to leave the bathroom but collapsed in the doorway as the chemicals caused rapid pulmonary edema and respiratory failure. His roommate returned to the apartment 30 minutes later and immediately detected strong chemical odors upon entering, recognizing the distinctive smell of chlorine-based gases from his chemistry classes. The roommate was forced to retreat from the apartment and call emergency services from outside the building, as the gas concentration had spread throughout the small studio space. Hazmat teams were required to ventilate the apartment and neutralize the chemical mixture before paramedics could safely enter to treat David. The toxic gas concentration measured by emergency responders required specialized ventilation equipment and chemical neutralizing agents to make the space safe for human entry. David was found unconscious in the bathroom doorway with severe chemical burns to his respiratory tract and exposed skin. Despite immediate medical intervention, including emergency intubation and advanced life support, he died en route to the hospital from acute respiratory failure caused by chemical inhalation and the resulting pulmonary edema. Forensic examination confirmed death by acute chemical pneumonitis and pulmonary edema from toxic gas inhalation. The medical examiner determined that David had unknowingly created a lethal combination of household chemicals that produced gases capable of causing rapid respiratory failure. The official cause of death was respiratory failure due to chemical poisoning from mixed cleaning products. Investigation confirmed that the chemical mixture had produced dangerous concentrations of chlorine and chloramine gases in the enclosed bathroom space. It was July 4th, 2018, at a county fairground in rural Kentucky, where the annual Independence Day lawnmower racing event had attracted participants from across the region who modified their equipment far beyond safe operating parameters in pursuit of speed and glory. Dale Robertson, 43, was a skilled mechanic who owned a small auto repair shop and had spent months modifying his riding lawnmower with a high-performance motorcycle engine, racing tires, and aerodynamic modifications. He had removed all factory safety equipment to reduce weight, creating a machine that could reach speeds of 60 miles per hour, far exceeding what the original chassis was designed to handle safely. Dale understood engine mechanics and performance modifications from his professional experience, but post-crash investigation determined he had no formal knowledge of vehicle dynamics, crash safety engineering, or the importance of safety systems in high-speed vehicles. His modifications had systematically eliminated the mower's roll bar, seatbelt, protective shields, and other safety features, while dramatically increasing its power and speed. The race that day was significantly more dangerous than usual because Dale had made additional last-minute modifications the night before, installing a nitrous oxide injection system to increase power even further for the championship race. Post-crash investigation revealed he had never tested the system under racing conditions and had no understanding of how the sudden power increase would affect the mower's handling characteristics or structural integrity. During the final championship race, Dale was running in second place when he decided to activate the nitrous system while entering a high-speed turn. Spectator phone videos captured the sequence that followed, showing the sudden power increase causing the rear wheels to lose traction completely, sending the mower into an uncontrollable spin at over 50 miles per hour. At that moment, the modified mower became airborne during the spin, flipping multiple times before striking a concrete safety barrier with tremendous force. The impact completely destroyed the mower's frame and sent debris flying across the track. Witness accounts and video evidence confirmed that Dale was thrown from the machine during the first flip, his body striking the ground at approximately 45 miles per hour, with no protective equipment to absorb the impact. Emergency medical personnel were stationed at the racing event and reached Dale within 2 minutes of the crash. But he had suffered massive head trauma and was barely conscious with a weak pulse. Advanced life support was initiated immediately, and he was transported by ambulance to a regional trauma center, but died shortly after arrival despite aggressive medical intervention. Race officials immediately stopped the event and secured the crash site while emergency responders worked. The racing area was cleared of spectators, and law enforcement officials secured the scene and began an investigation. The remaining races were canceled, and the event was officially halted pending investigation of the fatal accident. The crash investigation revealed that Dale's modifications had created a fundamentally unsafe vehicle that was structurally incapable of handling the power and speeds it could achieve. Accident investigators later found several cracked welds and signs of metal fatigue in the mower's frame, confirming that the chassis was already close to structural failure even before he activated the nitrous system. Forensic examination confirmed severe traumatic brain injury as the cause of death, with multiple skull fractures, brain hemorrhaging, and cervical spine injuries. The official cause of death was blunt force trauma to the head from impact with the ground at high speed. Officials conducted a thorough investigation of the incident, reviewing all available video footage and interviewing witnesses and event organizers. The investigation found that while the event had basic safety protocols in place, Dale's extreme modifications had created risks that exceeded normal racing safety measures. The incident led to comprehensive new safety regulations for lawnmower racing, requiring roll bars, helmets, seat belts, and other safety equipment for all participants. Thanks for watching. Want to watch more? Click on your screen now